Listen carefully. What you call reality is not fixed, not final, and certainly not in control of you. It is only a shadow, an echo of what you have already accepted as true within yourself. If you keep reacting to it, analyzing it, fearing it, you are only reinforcing the very thing you wish to change. So I tell you, ignore it. Not because it doesn't appear real, but because it has no creative power. The outer world is a delayed reflection. It is yesterday's assumption, hardened into fact. Why would you let yesterday decide your tomorrow? Instead, turn inward. That is where creation happens. That is where your true authority lives. If your current circumstances say you are struggling, but you desire abundance, do not argue with the struggle. Do not try to fix it directly. Simply assume in the quiet of your mind, I am already thriving. Feel it. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a fact. This is the discipline. To refuse to bow to appearances and to remain loyal to your chosen state. Yes, doubt will come. The senses will scream, look, nothing has changed. But that is precisely the test. Will you trust what you see, or will you trust what you have accepted within? The one who persists in assumption, regardless of contradiction, reshapes their world. Do not wait for evidence. Evidence follows belief. It never precedes it. When you wake up, do not check your reality to decide how to feel. Decide first who you are. Decide first what is true for you. Then carry that knowing like a quiet certainty throughout your day. Walk as the person who already has it. Think from it, not of it. Speak from it, not about it. If you desire success, do not say, I will be successful. That keeps it in the future. Instead, claim, I am successful. Let your inner conversations reflect that truth. Let your reactions align with that identity. And when the world shows you the opposite, smile. Not out of denial, but out of understanding. You know something the world does not yet show. You are not ignoring reality. You are redefining it at its source. Dr. Vincent is the key. Not forced effort, not struggle, but steady, calm loyalty to your assumption. Like wearing a new identity until it feels natural, until it feels obvious, until it feels like the only truth. Then something remarkable happens. Without you forcing it, without you chasing it, the world begins to rearrange itself. Opportunities appear, circumstances shift, people respond differently. What once felt distant begins to feel normal, and you will realize it was never the world you had to change. It was only your acceptance of what is true. So from this moment on, make a decision. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, no matter what you have experienced, return to your chosen assumption, again and again, not with strain, but with quiet confidence. What you see before you now feels solid, unquestionable, and final. It appears as fact, as something already decided, something beyond your control. But what if I told you that this reality you are so quick to accept is nothing more than a reflection, an echo of what you once believed to be true? Not in some distant past, but in your own inner world, in your own quiet assumptions, repeated so often they took form. The world does not simply happen to you. It responds to you. It mirrors you. Every condition, every circumstance, every pattern you experience has roots that stretch back into your own consciousness. The outer world is not the cause. It is the effect. And yet, you have been trained to do the opposite, to look at the effect and treat it as the cause, to see what is already formed and assume it has authority over what is yet to come. Look at your life for a moment. The situations you call reality, your finances, your relationships, your opportunities, feel like facts carved in stone, but they were not always this way. They became this way, and if they became, they can become something else. The mistake is not in experiencing these conditions, but in accepting them as permanent truth. The moment you accept something as final, you give it power to remain. You anchor yourself to it. You begin to think from it, react from it, and unknowingly recreate it. You say, this is just how things are. And in that quiet surrender, you ensure that things remain exactly as they are. But consider this. If what you see is only the result of what you previously assumed, then what you assume now must determine what you will see next. This means you are not bound by your current reality unless you choose to be. It means the world around you is not a prison. It is a mirror, and a mirror has no power to change you. It can only reflect what you are being. So why continue to treat reflections as if they are fixed truths? Why give so much attention, so much emotional weight to something that is only showing you what has already been accepted within? You must begin to see differently, not with your physical eyes, but with your inner knowing. When something appears in your world that contradicts what you desire, do not rush to react. Do not label it as failure or proof that things cannot change. Recognize it for what it is. An old story playing itself out, a past belief revealing its form. And just as it once formed, it can dissolve. But it will not dissolve through force, struggle, or constant attention. It will dissolve when you withdraw your belief in its permanence, when you stop treating it as final, when you refuse to let it define what is true for you. This requires a shift in identity. Instead of being someone who reacts to reality, you become someone who defines it from within. You no longer look outward for confirmation. You decide inwardly what is real and allow the world to catch up. There is a quiet power in this, a calm certainty. You are not denying what you see. You are simply refusing to let it have the final say. You understand that it is temporary, that it is fluid, that it is always in motion, responding to the deeper level of your being. Think of it like this. Every time you accept a condition as unchangeable, you press it deeper into your experience. But every time you recognize it as a reflection, you loosen its grip. You create space for something new to emerge. And in that space, a new assumption can take root. Not one based on fear or limitation, but one chosen deliberately. One that aligns with what you truly desire. And as you hold that assumption, not perfectly, but consistently, it begins to feel natural. It begins to feel real. And when it feels real within, it must eventually express itself without. This is the law at work, whether you are aware of it or not. The only difference now is that you are becoming conscious of it. You are no longer a passive observer of circumstances. You are an active participant in their creation. So the next time you are tempted to say, "This is just my reality," pause, question it. Is this a permanent truth, or is this simply the result of what I have previously accepted? And if it is only a result, then it is not final. What you see is not the end of the story. It is a snapshot of a process still unfolding, and you at the center of it hold the ability to influence what comes next, not by fighting what is, but by choosing what will be. Let the world show you whatever it shows. Let it present its evidence, its appearances, its so-called facts. But do not be quick to agree. Do not be quick to surrender your inner authority, because the moment you stop treating your current reality as final, you begin to open the door to a completely different one. What stands before your eyes will always try to persuade you. It will speak in the language of facts, circumstances, and visible proof. It will say, "This is who you are. This is what is possible. This is how things will remain." And if you are not aware, you will agree. You will accept the evidence of your senses as the highest authority, and in doing so, you will surrender your creative power to something that was never meant to lead you. Appearances are convincing, but they are not decisive. They are persuasive, but they are not permanent. They are simply the surface expression of something deeper, something that has already been accepted within you. Yet most people live their entire lives reacting to appearances, adjusting themselves to what they see, allowing the outer world to dictate their inner state. You are not meant to live this way. There is a deeper order to life, one that begins within and flows outward. Your inner state is the origin. It is the cause. Everything else is an effect. But to live from this understanding requires a bold decision, a decision to no longer let appearances define you. Imagine what it means to truly ignore appearances. It does not mean you close your eyes or pretend that nothing exists. It means you see what is there, but you refuse to let it determine what is true for you. You acknowledge it without accepting it as final. You recognize it as a passing condition, not a fixed identity. If your surroundings suggest limitation, lack, or struggle, the instinct is to feel limited, to feel lacking, to feel burdened. But that reaction is learned, not required. You can choose differently. You can stand in the midst of what seems unfavorable and still decide within yourself, "This is not who I am. This is not my truth." This is where your power lies, not in controlling every external event, but in choosing your inner position regardless of what is happening around you. To choose your inner state is to define yourself from within. It is to say, "I decide who I am," rather than waiting for the world to tell you. It is to claim an identity that may not yet be visible, but feels real in your awareness. And once you claim it, you begin to live from it. You think differently. You respond differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that does not need validation. Because your certainty is not built on what you see. It is built on what you know within. This is not always easy. The pull of appearances is strong. The mind will try to return to old patterns, to familiar reactions, to the comfort of agreeing with what is visible. But each time you notice this, you are given a choice. You can either follow the old path or return to your chosen state. And this return, done consistently, begins to shift something within you. At first, it may feel like effort. It may feel like you are going against the current. But over time, it becomes natural. The new state becomes familiar. It becomes your default way of being. And as it stabilizes within you, something remarkable begins to happen. The world starts to reflect it. Not instantly, not always in obvious ways, but gradually, unmistakably. Your outer experience begins to align with your inner decision. Opportunities arise where there were none. Circumstances soften. People respond to you differently. What once felt distant begins to feel normal. And you realize that you did not change the world by force. You changed it by changing your relationship to it. By refusing to be defined by appearances, you freed yourself from their influence. By choosing your inner state, you set a new cause into motion. Consider how often people say, "I will feel better when things improve," or "I will believe in myself when I see results." But this keeps them waiting, dependent on something outside. The truth is the reverse. Things improve when you feel better. Results appear when you believe first. So do not wait. Do not wait for the perfect condition, the right moment, or the visible sign. Decide now. Decide who you are. Decide what is true for you. Let that decision live within you, quietly but firmly. If the world contradicts it, let it. If others doubt it, let them. Their perception does not define your reality. Your inner state does. Hold to it, not with tension, but with calm certainty. Like someone who knows something deeply, even if it cannot yet be explained. You are not trying to convince the world. You are aligning yourself. And alignment, once established, begins to express itself. So when appearances rise up and demand your attention, meet them with awareness, not obedience. See them, but do not bow to them. Let them pass without taking root in your identity. Because the moment you stop letting appearances decide who you are, you begin to live from a place where change is not only possible, it is inevitable. There is a profound difference between wishing for something and knowing it is already yours. Wishing places your desire at a distance. It says, "I do not have it yet." Hoping does the same. It keeps you waiting, anticipating, looking outward for a sign that something has changed. But as long as you remain in that state of waiting, you continue to affirm the absence of what you want. To assume the feeling of already having it is to step out of that waiting entirely. It is to move beyond desire and into possession. Within yourself first. This is not about pretending or forcing belief. It is about gently, deliberately entering a state where your wish feels fulfilled, where your mind accepts it as present, where your inner world reflects the reality you have chosen. Ask yourself, how would you feel if what you desire were already a fact? Not someday, not in the future, but now. How would your body relax? How would your thoughts change? What would your inner conversations sound like? These questions are not meant to tease you with possibility. They are invitations to experience that state directly. When you allow yourself to feel it, even briefly, something shifts. You are no longer reaching. You are resting in the experience. And in that moment, you are no longer aligned with lack. You are aligned with fulfillment. This feeling is the secret. Not the words you repeat, not the images you force, but the emotional certainty that it is done. That quiet sense of it is already mine. It may be subtle, almost unnoticed at first, but it carries a power far greater than effort or struggle. From this state, your thinking naturally changes. You do not think about how to get what you want. You think from the place of already having it. Your thoughts become reflections of that reality. Instead of asking, "When will it happen?" you find yourself thinking, "I'm glad this is part of my life." There is a shift from questioning to appreciating, from seeking to experiencing. Your speech follows this shift. The way you talk, even internally, begins to match your assumed reality. You are no longer speaking in terms of lack or uncertainty. There is a confidence in your words, even if you do not express them outwardly to others. You know within yourself what is true. And then your reactions begin to change. Situations that once triggered doubt or fear lose their hold on you. Why? Because you are no longer interpreting them from a place of absence. You are interpreting them from fulfillment. What once felt like an obstacle now feels temporary, irrelevant, even insignificant in the light of what you know to be yours. This is how a new reality begins to form. Not through force, but through alignment. You are aligning your thoughts, your feelings, your identity with the version of yourself who already has what you desire. And as you do this, consistently, gently, without strain, it becomes natural. You begin to carry it with you. It is there when you wake up, in the quiet moments before the day begins. It is there in your interactions, in your decisions, in your presence. You do not need to constantly remind yourself. It becomes a part of you, like a memory or a truth you have always known. And when doubts arise, as they sometimes will, you do not fight them. You simply return. You return to the feeling, to the knowing, to the state you have chosen. Again and again, until it becomes more familiar than the old way of thinking. Understand this clearly. You are not trying to get something from the outside. You are allowing something to unfold by first accepting it within. The outer world is not the starting point. It is the confirmation. So do not wait for confirmation before you feel fulfilled. That reverses the order. Feel it first. Live in it inwardly. Let it become real to you, independent of what you currently see. This requires trust, not blind belief, but a willingness to experience something internally before it appears externally. A willingness to let your inner state lead rather than follow. And as you do this, something begins to reorganize. Life starts to move in ways you did not plan. Paths open, connections form, ideas come. What you once tried to force begins to arrive with ease, not because you chased it, but because you became it. So take a moment, even now. Set aside what you see, what you fear, what you have been told. Enter into the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Let it be real here within you. Let it settle gently, naturally. And from that place, think. From that place, speak. From that place, respond to life. Because when you live as though it is already yours, you are no longer waiting for your reality to change. You are already living in the version of it that does. There will come a moment, perhaps many moments, when everything around you appears unchanged. You will look at your circumstances and see no movement, no evidence, no visible sign that anything is different. The same patterns may repeat, the same conditions may present themselves, and a quiet voice within may begin to question, is this really working? This is the moment that matters most. Not when everything feels easy, not when results are obvious, but when nothing seems to be happening at all. Because it is here that your loyalty is tested, not to the world you see, but to the state you have chosen within yourself. Doubt is not the enemy. It is simply the echo of your old beliefs, the residue of a way of thinking that once felt natural. When it arises, it does not mean you are failing. It means you are transitioning. You are moving from one identity to another, and the old one is not ready to release its hold without resistance. But you must understand something clearly. Doubt has no creative power unless you give it authority. It can speak, it can suggest, it can try to pull your attention, but it cannot shape your reality unless you accept it as truth. So when doubt appears, do not wrestle with it. Do not try to silence it or argue against it. Simply recognize it for what it is, a passing thought, not a command. And then gently but firmly, return to your assumption again and again. This return is a discipline, not perfection, not constant positivity, but persistence. The willingness to come back to your chosen state, no matter how many times you seem to drift away from it. You may feel at times that you are repeating the same inner decision without results. You may wonder if you are simply imagining something that will never take form. But what you do not see is the subtle shift taking place within you. Each time you return to your assumption, you are strengthening it. You are making it more familiar, more natural, more real. And what is natural to you must eventually be expressed. The outer world does not change instantly because it is not independent. It follows. It reflects. And like any reflection, there is a delay. But delay is not denial. It is simply the space between cause and effect. Most people give up in that space. They look for immediate confirmation, and when it does not appear, they abandon their assumption. They return to old patterns, old beliefs, old reactions, and in doing so, they recreate the very reality they wish to escape. But the one who persists understands something different. They understand that what is seen now is not a measure of what is coming, but a reflection of what has already been. And so they do not use the present moment as proof of failure. They use it as an opportunity to remain aligned with their chosen truth. This requires patience, but not the kind that waits passively. It is an active patience, a steady commitment to an inner knowing. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are holding a state until it becomes visible. There may be times when the contradiction is strong, when everything seems to oppose what you have chosen to believe. In those moments, it is easy to feel discouraged, to question your path, to wonder if you should adjust your expectations. But this is where your power is either claimed or surrendered. If you allow appearances to dictate your belief, you return to being a reactor, someone shaped by circumstance. But if you remain loyal to your assumption, even in the face of contradiction, you step into a different role, the role of a creator. You begin to understand that reality is not something you chase or wait for. It is something you cultivate within, and then allow to unfold. Consistency is what makes this real. Not intensity, not bursts of belief followed by doubt, but steady, repeated alignment. Like water shaping stone, not through force, but through persistence. Every time you choose your assumption over your doubt, you are reshaping your inner world. And as your inner world stabilizes, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that stability. So do not be discouraged by what you do not yet see. Do not measure your progress by appearances. Measure it by your ability to remain true to your chosen state. Can you return to it when doubt arises? Can you hold it when nothing seems to change? Can you remain calm when the world shows you the opposite? If you can, even imperfectly, you are already moving in the right direction, because the one who persists is not hoping for a different reality. They are becoming the person for whom that reality is inevitable. So remain faithful to what you have chosen within yourself. Let doubt come and go. Let appearances rise and fall. But do not surrender your inner certainty to temporary conditions. What you persist in believing, feeling, and accepting as true will, in time, become the very shape of your experience. The world may not change the moment you decide, but the moment you decide and remain loyal to that decision, everything has already begun to move. What is unseen is forming. What is invisible is arranging itself. What feels delayed is simply unfolding in its appointed way. Your task is not to force the outcome. Your task is to remain steady, to hold the vision, to trust the unseen process, and to continue thinking, feeling, and living from the reality you have chosen. For in the end, reality always yields to the one who refuses to abandon their assumption. Stay faithful, stay consistent, stay certain, and what you have accepted within will one day stand before you as undeniable fact.